Alrighty then. In the last video, I talked about what caused me to start learning how to draw and taking it seriously. The catalyst for my beginnings, if you will. Now I'll share my overall journey as an artist over this video of me coloring the breadfruit guy. Well, before, I mentioned I used to draw comics a lot when I was 9 up to 12 or 13 or so. And then I got into high school and I tried to show my friends these comics, but they didn't really like them too much. So I started drawing anime instead, and I would mostly copy pictures of anime. Every time I tried to draw an original character, things would be off. You know, their designs wouldn't look too good. At least I tried, I guess. I also had a graphics design class my freshman year, but I failed it. I didn't really take high school too seriously my freshman year, and I failed a lot of classes. I really hated high school. It's just not the place for me. I don't, something about it, I just don't like the whole atmosphere. Don't like the way they teach. Don't like the way you have to learn. I mean, I do like to learn, but I like to actually learn. I don't like to memorize useless facts. You know what I mean? Well, around sophomore year, I joined a garage band. And I was the bassist. And my older brother, a year older than me, was the drummer. And we had a really skilled lead guitarist and a big black guy who was the singer. It was a fun band. It was fun times. And I really thought that I would be the music guy. I thought that was going to be my career, what I was going to do with my life. I was just going to play music. But that didn't last forever. The band broke up eventually. I don't know what exactly caused it, but everyone else in the band was a year or 2 years ahead of me. So they got super busy their senior year and they had to leave the next year. So it didn't really last as long as I would have liked it to. And I tried to find other bands to join, but there weren't a whole lot in my high school. There were a couple, but not a whole lot, and even less looking for a bassist. So I got back into drawing. But all throughout high school, I had this odd rule where I'd only ever use a number 2 graphite pencil and no other medium. Absolutely no other medium. I mean, people would tell me, hey, you should try ink or you should try painting. But I said, nope, I like graphite. And my reasoning was because with ink, you can get only 2 colors, and that was absolute black and absolute white. And no other color in between. Well, back then I didn't know about liquid inks with calligraphy pens, and I didn't realize that you could utilize special techniques to get a grayish effect. And I didn't want to use paints because I liked the grayscale aesthetic. And I had no idea that there was such a thing as art fundamentals, but I was teaching myself values by sticking with graphite, which is just a little weird, a little fun fact, I guess. I don't regret it now because I didn't have to learn graphite. I didn't have to learn values when I was studying, when I was actually practicing art seriously. So I could just skip over that for the most part. I had to learn that colors had values, but that was pretty much it. I did have this dedicated art class though, but that was like my senior year, junior or senior year. I think I had one my sophomore year too, but I think the sophomore year art class was art history, so I didn't pay too much attention to it. My junior or senior year art class was dedicated art, and my teacher had me draw in other mediums and with different styles like pointillism and all of that. And that's where I learned about hatch shading, which I really enjoy and still use to this day. But for the most part, I still stuck to graphite. Well, after high school is when I really started learning and really learning how to practice. And when I learned that there was such a thing as fundamentals and that they are pretty much essential to being able to draw well. And I decided that I was going to do that. I was going to take the time and put in the effort to be able to draw well. And I even made my mom really mad at me because I was focusing so much on my art, more so than the family business or my college classes. And I kind of paid for that a little bit. It was pretty rough. But it was pretty rough all around. The beginning of my art career was really difficult. I've heard some people say that the first step is the hardest, but I don't think I agree with that necessarily. The first step is kind of easy. You really just wander around aimlessly, doing whatever it is you want to do and having fun, honestly, when you take your first couple of steps. But eventually, you kind of hit this wall, and you have to make a decision. You gotta take a look around and either decide that you're going to confront this wall, or you can go back and start wandering around aimlessly again. And if you decide to confront the wall, you'll look up and notice that it's really a mountain that you have to climb. And it reaches, when you look up at it, it almost reaches into space. You can't see the top. And you're like, wow, that's impossible. How can I even begin to climb it, let alone get to the top? But I started climbing anyway, and that was the most difficult part, was the initial climb, the initial hurdle, that first mountain. All throughout that climb, it was just absolutely brutal and filled with self-doubt. For the longest time, I was borderline depressed because I thought I wasn't getting better, and I thought I should just quit, just give up. But thankfully, I didn't. Thanks in large part to the people around me. I did want to go to an art school during my beginnings, but art school is way too expensive, so that was out of the question. I didn't even get to really take any art classes either because I don't know. I don't really even know why I didn't get to. It's not like my mom wasn't supportive of my decision to be an artist, but she kind of felt distant. Not really unsupportive, but not really supportive either. And so I had to do this by myself, essentially. I didn't even really have any art friends. I still don't have any art friends. I mean, I have friends who are artists and like other things, like a musician, cool guy. Um, but nobody who does art the way I do it. I got my first digital tablet, a Huion 610 Pro, and I got it for like a discount. It was $60. Usually it's $70. And I started drawing people's OCs and avatars on Gaia Online, which was fun practice. But I was really clumsy with digital art. It's kind of the reason why I started drawing people's OCs and stuff, was so that I could get better, more coordinated with my tablet. And at some point I decided that I was just going to do digital art and stopped doing traditional art altogether. And that was good for me to teach me how to do color theory, which I still don't completely understand, but you know, getting there. But then I discovered one of my favorite artists, Jake Parker, and I saw what he could do with ink, and it was just so amazing. You know, I absolutely love professionally done ink. And I also got into reading manga. One of my favorite manga artists is Junji Ito, because I'm a huge horror junkie as well. And I started looking into like the comic book style, and I just really, really love the use of ink. So I got back into traditional art and started inking, which was difficult at first. It was scary taking on ink at first, because with graphite you can erase that, but ink is permanent. Everything you do, if you make a mistake, then that's it. You've ruined your entire piece, and well, that's what I thought at least. You don't really ruin your entire piece if you make one mistake with ink, but as a beginner, that's how I felt. But I decided to tackle it anyway, and well, somewhere along the line, I don't really know how or when, but I got to the point where I could consistently make myself content with my art. It was a very long and difficult and tedious process, but I made it. And if a loser like me can make it as an artist, then anyone can. You just gotta be willing to put in the time and effort. And you have to be willing to not give up. You can learn any skill. just work at it. Don't be intimidated by what the professionals can do, because we all started off as beginners.